The house at the end of Blackthorn Lane had stood empty so long local children no longer bothered daring to touch the gate. The for sale sign had faded from red to a tired pink and disappeared entirely sometime during a third winter after the last owners in the night. No one knew exactly when. No one asked. Mara Voss arrived on a Thursday in late October, driving a 12-year-old hatchback filled with boxes labeled simply kitchen, clothes, books, misc. She was 34, divorced for 14 months, carried the kind of quiet makes people lower their voices when she enters a room. She had chosen the house because it was inexpensive and because it was far from anyone who might ask how she was doing. The real estate agent, a thin woman named Cheryl, who smelled faintly of cinnamon gum, walked her through the property under 20 minutes. Solid bones, Cheryl said. Original hardwood, needs paint, obviously, and maybe new wiring in the back bedrooms. But the price reflects that. Why did the last owners leave? Mara asked. Cheryl's smile flickered. Bad bull. Personal reasons. You know how it is. Mara did not press. She signed the papers, received the keys, and moved in 4 days later with no help and no fanfare. The first strange thing was small enough to ignore. On the third night, she woke at 3:14 a.m. to the sound of someone turning the pages of a book downstairs. Slow, deliberate. One page every 6 or 7 seconds. She lay still, listening until the sound stopped at exactly 3:41, then silencing. She told herself it was the house settling or the wind moving something loose. She did not go downstairs to check. The second strange thing happened in the upstairs hallway. She was stripping the old wallpaper. Tiny brown sparrows on cream stained the color of weak tea when she found the writing beneath third layer. Ballpoint pen, careful cursive. The same 7 words repeated in perfect line until the ink gave out. Writer continued with a dry tip, leaving faint silver scratches. I am still here when you leave. Mara stared at the sentence for time, long enough for the paint roll to drip onto her shoe. Then she painted over it twice. Thick white primer that smelled like antiseptic and new beginnings. The birds came back 3 nights later. Not wallpaper birds, real ones. Small, dark shapes that flickered at the edge of her vision. When she turned her head, they were gone, but the sound remained. Soft, irregular wingbeats inside the walls. Not frantic, patient. She began leaving the radio on at night. Low volume. A classic rock station that drifted in and out depending on the weather. Anything to mask quiet. On the 8th night, the power failed. The house went dark in a single blink. No storm, no warning flicker, just silence and black. Except the radio kept playing impossibly on batteries it did not contain. Hotel California reached the guitar solo. The notes stretched, slowed. A second guitar layered beneath the first, playing the same melody, but half a step flat. Then a third joined, slower still, almost mournful. They were no longer performing the song. They were remembering. Mara found the flashlight by touch. The beam trembled. When she aimed it toward the living room door, something pale darted across the ceiling. Fingers, maybe, or feathers. Gone before she could focus. She backed against the refrigerator. The radio hissed once, then spoke in a voice that wore her own timbre like borrowed clothing. You left the window open in the blue room. There was no blue room. She had painted the spare bedroom sage green week before. She switched the radio off. The voice continued for another 5 seconds, growing fainter, like someone walking away down a long corridor. The next morning, she found the photograph. It was in the narrow drawer beneath the staircase, a drawer she had emptied on moving day, a Polaroid. The image showed her own kitchen as it had looked the first hour she arrived. Empty counters, avocado fridge, sunlight falling in bars across the floor. In the center stood a woman who could have been her twin. Same heavy eyebrows, same small scar above the left temple from a child fall, same slight downward curve to the mouth when not smiling. The woman in the photograph was smiling. Mara turned the picture over. Written on the white border in the same neat cursive, "Don't look behind you tonight." She did not look behind her. She sat on the couch with every lamp burning, eyes fixed on the blank television screen. At 2:19 a.m., the reflection in the dark glass changed. The room behind her stretched. The hallway lengthened. And at the far end, something pale began forward. It moved wrong. Knees bending backward for a step, then forward, head tilted 30 degrees too far. When it reached the doorway, it stopped, raised an hand, pointed direct the reflection of her eyes. She did not turn. She remained motionless until sunrise. When the first gray light arrived, the thing was gone. The reflection was ordinary again. That afternoon, she bought aluminum foil, duct tape, finishing nails. She covered every mirror, every window pane, every chrome handle and glass-fronted cabinet. She worked until her palms were raw. The house grew quieter after that, not peaceful, heavy. 3 nights later, the birds returned, but now they tapped against the inside surface of the foil-covered windows. Not random, rhythm, Morse code, SOS repeated. She sat on the hallway floor, back against the wall she had painted 3 times. She listened until the tapping stopped. When it stopped, the house exhaled a long, slow breath. It moved the curtain, even though all the windows were sealed. Then new writing appeared on the wall in front of her. Not painted, not scratched, simply present, black letters glistening like fresh ink. I am the part of you that stayed. Mara laughed once short. Ugh, then go, she said to the empty. The letters were formed. I can't. You locked the doors. She stood, walked to the front door. Open. Night air rushed in. Dry leaves cartwheeled across the porch. Nothing else waited outside. She closed and locked the door. Turned. The hallway was longer. Doors she did not remember hung on both sides. The floorboards creaked in perfect time with her footsteps, as though something walked one pace behind. At the end of the corridor was a door painted periwinkle blue. It stood ajar. She pushed it open. Inside, the walls were the exact shade her mother once chose for a nursery that was never used. In the center stood a white crib, new, pristine. Something small stirred beneath, like Mara crossed the room, lifted the corner of fabric. A baby lay, 6 months perhaps, dark hair, heavy brows, faint scar above the left temple. It opened its eyes, her eyes. It opened its mouth. The sound that emerged was every unscreamed cry she had ever swallowed since child. She lifted the infant. It was warm. It smelled of skin and milk and the faintest trace of copper. I'm sorry, she whispered. The child placed one tiny palm against her cheek. Behind her, the door opened wide. She did not turn. She already knew who stood there wearing face. She already knew the smile. And she already understood that she would never leave this house. Not because the doors were locked, but because part of her had never truly wanted to. Upstairs, in the hallway, where the wall had been painted 3 times, fresh handwriting appeared. Very neat, very patient. I am still here when you leave. The birds fell silent. The radio never played again. And somewhere deep inside the walls, something small began to turn a page. Slow, deliberate. One every 7 seconds. Waiting for the next person to arrive. And stay.